Who's got it better than us? Well, Jim Harbaugh is probably saying that more often these days than he ever has, even though that's a favorite line of his. Things are going pretty well for Michigan football. We got Justin Rowe on the line, Blue by 90. That's Blue by 90 podcast, blueby90.com, and also Wolverine Plus. That's Wolverine.plus. Justin, what's going on today?
Not much, as you said. There's a buzz in Ann Arbor going on. You wouldn't, March here. It's not for the basketball team in March Madness. They were stuck in the NIT, but the Michigan football. I mean, people are still pretty pumped about the big back-to-back Big Ten champs, and now when you reel that in and put it in with some great recruiting in spring ball, we're feeling good over here in Ann Arbor.
So that's what you hit on right there, because any Michigan detractor could say, okay, well, yeah, you did it on the field. You put the right team together. It's a veteran team for the most part. That team's really good, but man, this recruiting's not been great. So it's going to stop here pretty soon, and Ohio State's going to take back over. But man, I ran some numbers the other day. Justin posted a few videos on this. Michigan has basically either been kept out of the Buckeye State or they have stayed out of the Buckeye State. I think maybe there's a combination there. The players that they have pulled out of Ohio under Jim Harbaugh, there has not been a player rated in the top 10 in the state of Ohio until this year. A couple of those players turned out to be really good players. They just weren't highly touted coming out of high school. Now we're looking at like 3 of the top 4 players in the state. And, there's, it's maybe an aberration. Maybe it's just a couple outliers that could be argued, but this hasn't happened during Jim Harbaugh's era or even well before that.
Yeah. I mean, I think what we were all waiting for was this, right? You were waiting for, all right, you beat Ohio State in 2021. And then everyone going into the offseason of 2022, you're thinking, all right, when do you capitalize on it? When do you get a few of those big recruits? And it didn't really happen. Michigan's 2023 class it ended up being okay, but nothing to write home about. And so this right here, what happened in the past 2 weeks is what we've been waiting for. All right, you beat Ohio State in back-to-back years, you win back-to-back Big Ten championships, and you go to the college football playoff. Well, then you go into Ohio and you steal some guys. And I don't care if your Buckeye fans over there are saying, we didn't want them anyway, we didn't offer them, blah, blah, blah. We're stealing good players from the state of Ohio that are, some of them are even, I don't want to say legacy guys, but their families are Ohio State families. They have fans, friends that are fans, all that stuff. And so this is what Michigan fans have been waiting for the last 2 years is, when are you going to capitalize on the championships, on the run that you're having right now, and put it into some recruiting? And now you look at what Michigan's doing, and listen, it's very early. We know that for sure. It's very, very early in the cycle, but you're at number 3 in the country in recruiting rankings right now. This is how you build a 10-year run like Ohio State just had, and you build on that. You get the 4 and the 5 stars, and especially you stake your claim in the middle of Ohio. This is how you build it right here.
9 hard commits for 2024, 4 out of Ohio. And, I'm not going to go full pro Michigan on this or pro Ohio State, because the truth is somewhere in the middle. And the best I can divide the truth is, again, Michigan's not getting top 10 players out of the state of Ohio for a long, long time, probably pre-Urban Meyer. And now they get the number 3 player in the state, the running back out of Cincinnati, Jordan Marshall. Excuse me. There's a heavy lean for the 4th-rated player in the state out of Youngstown Fitch, and edge rusher Brian Robinson. So here's the deal. The other thing, so those guys they were off the radar, off the map before for Michigan. In addition to that, this is what I would be concerned with too, from the Ohio State perspective, would be, okay, if you look at Ohio State year to year in the state of Ohio, they're only interested in like the top 7 or 8 players. They like the year before 2023 class, they grabbed 7 of the top 8 players. It's pretty like once you get past like 8 or 9, they're really not that interested. They're not touching. They may grab a program player down the ranks, but they're really locked in on, because that's about how deep Ohio goes with like really high 4-star guys. But if Michigan's producing the best offensive lines in the Big Ten and possibly the country the last 2 years, and they're grabbing guys that are offensive linemen that are ranked like 14th or 15th in the state, I would think, okay, well, that's typically not the kind of guys we get here. Maybe we should be going after those guys, because I'm not going to be surprised if Michigan takes a couple offensive linemen like they have in previous classes from Ohio and turn guys that are like the 15th rated player in the state, 3 stars, and turn them into really good players.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, that's what I see in like a Ben Roebuck, for example, 6'7", 320. And whether he's a 3-star or a 5-star, and obviously he's sitting at a 3-star right now, I think that Michigan's Sharon Moore is looking at him saying, we can figure that out. I think with the development that they've had at that position group, they're going to say he's a big boy, he's got talent. They're trying to find those diamonds in the rough. It feels like that. And it's guys, this is what Jim Harbaugh is looking for right now. Obviously, he wants talented players, but he wants guys that are all in on Michigan and love to play football. They're grinders. They're not some kid that's looking out for a big NIL deal or something like that, going to the best spot for him financially. He loves guys that are in and sometimes have a little chip on their shoulder. And I think that's what you're going to find with a Luke Hamilton, a Ben Roebuck, those types of guys where it's like, hey, Ohio State wasn't giving me as much love as I thought that they should have. They were going for the 5-star out of Florida or something like that. They didn't want the guy that was in their backyard that has loved Ohio State since the beginning. Jim Harbaugh loves that kid and is going to go for him and turn him into a Michigan guy that now has a chip on his shoulder and has a vendetta that he's going after Ohio State come November. That kid's playing way harder in that game than the 5-star from Florida that has never been to a Michigan-Ohio State game in their life.
Got Justin Rowe on the line from Blue by 90 and also Wolverine.plus. So, Justin, when we look at, of course, the prized jewel at this point makes a big announcement on Friday. That's Jadyn Davis, the quarterback who's got Ohio State and Michigan in its top 5, and he makes that announcement. Do you have any particular lean on this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that Michigan's been after for a long time now, and the recruitment cycle has taken way longer than I think Michigan has wanted. But ultimately, if I was a Michigan fan, I'd be tuning in on Friday for sure, and hoping for some good news. I think that you look at, he came back for his 5th visit. He's definitely been having some good contact with the Michigan coaches. And so I'd be shocked if it went another way. But I'm excited. I think this is like, if Jadyn Davis does end up committing on Friday to Michigan, that's where all of a sudden it's like, okay, now the snowball really begins to go, because better than anybody, Mark, what happens is you get that 5-star blue chip recruit at QB, and then the rest of the class starts filing in right in suit. And so I almost wonder, a lot of crystal balls came out for Jadyn Davis last week, and that's when Michigan's recruiting really took off. I wonder if he made some calls to some other recruits and said, hey, I'm coming, you coming with me, including somebody like a Jordan Marshall, say, hey, Jadyn Davis is saying, hey, Jordan, you want to be my running back? Let's go do this thing together.
The recruiting game is a game of momentum, no question about that. It's a grind and it's building relationships, but it's you see momentum swing in both directions, because people look at meaning the student athletes look at the proof of concept, and then they look at what other athletes are doing and choosing, and so winners want to play with winners, and talent wants to play with talent. And it's not just Jadyn Davis, of course. There was a big recruiting weekend, a lot of guys, not just for 2024, but 2025, a lot of top 100 guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and this is where, as I said, Michigan is, I think they're changing their their tune a little bit in those recruiting visits. It used to be, hey, we want you to come and be a part of the Michigan tradition. We want to, they had the old school approach. Now I think they're able to say, and they changed, they got the graphics up from the Michigan Ohio State game this past year. They've got it all going on in Schembechler Hall. They're showing off the trophies. Before you used to have to show off, hey, we're pitching you on the idea of beating Ohio State and winning that trophy. That trophy case was empty. Now you can show off both trophies. You've got pictures of these guys dumping Gatorade on Jim Harbaugh in Columbus. You're planting the flag in the O. It's a very different pitch that they're able to give now inside Schembechler. And so these recruiting visits, and as you said, the momentum, they're having tons of guys come in all at the same time. They're all talking to each other. They're all liking it. They're all talking about how great this is. And they're all scheming, as we just said with Jadyn Davis and Jordan Marshall, like they're all talking about like who's going to team up and who's going to be here and there. That's where I think Michigan has that momentum right now, that when these guys are all coming to Michigan in one weekend, they're all talking about, they're looking at those pictures. Hey, that could be us that are winning a title and going to play in the college football playoff. I think that could be us.
Justin, of course, spring practice, as well as I do, fans want all sort of inside information, and there's really not that much. It's a very fundamental approach to football. These guys are like working on firing out of their stances.
Yep.
It's very grassroots, like football coach kind of stuff. And a lot of important work gets done and a lot of foundation laid, but there's not a lot of flashy stuff to report from spring practice. And a lot of it's obviously kept under lock and key. But as we transition from spring practice into the actual spring game that's coming up this Saturday, which, as a side note to our recruiting conversation, isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world that Michigan's kind of separated its spring game from everyone else, because the next Saturday kind of kicks in where there's going to be 15 to 20 teams every week on TV all over the place. But Michigan's got the day to themselves on the Big Ten Network. So another good thing for Michigan football. But anything in particular, I know with the disclaimer, it's a spring game. Anything you want to see on Saturday?
Yeah, it is always funny when spring practice starts. There's always some videos or pictures that come out of some guys, and it's like the most overreaction time of the year, right? It's who went into winter and came out with 10 more pounds of muscle, who made this one catch in practice, and then everyone's on the message board saying this is going to be the breakout star, of the year or something like that. And I laugh a little bit because of exactly what you said. It is a time to build and develop. It's not for anybody to show off, what they're doing. And yes, they do go head to head, and there are guys that are making plays for sure. But they call it here in Michigan, in Ann Arbor, you got to perform on State Street, which is where the practice facility is, before you can make it on Main Street, which is where the stadium is. And so it's guys, you're grinding, you're working on those little things. And I think that Michigan, because of how long a season they had last year with the college football playoff berth and everything like that, they're taking some time to have some guys rest up and get right for next fall. And so it's not as much about hey, we've got to be perfect here in March. But they're grinding right now to make sure that come September, they're going to be the best team that they can be. Now, I will say JJ has been throwing all over the place. He's been playing really well. You got Davis Warren and Jack Tuttle, who is a transfer coming in from Indiana, that are battling it out for the backup QB spot. And some young guys are really showing out. Tyler Morris is a guy at wide receiver that is coming in and making some plays. I'm excited to see Darius Clemens as well. He's a big dude, 6'4", that is going to be a top receiver for Michigan come next year too. And then, there are some guys on the defensive side of the ball. Mason Graham is going to be an absolute monster for Michigan. I'm excited to see what he's doing. And then I'm jumping all over, but back to the offensive side too. We're looking at Colston Loveland come out as the top tight end, but AJ Barner as well, another transfer coming in from Indiana. I've heard that he's showing out as well in spring practice. So the new guys that are coming in, even along the offensive line too, I think they're trying to work out, hey, how does everybody fit into the mold here and all that stuff. It's very much a preparation type time for Michigan instead of like in past years, when you don't have that trophy in that trophy case, it's we got to prove to everybody that we're for real and do all this stuff. Now you can kind of, sit back a little bit and work on some of those little things going into the fall.
Folks, we've got a Michigan spring game watch party here at the Voice of College Football. It's on Patreon. However, you do not have to be a member. We're going to share the link all over the place, and it's going to be free and open to everyone. Any big plans for the spring game?
I do. I got to plug it. I'm putting on a spring game pep rally for Valiant as well. So Valiant Management, NIL company, marketing agency for Michigan. We've got a spring game pep rally before the game. So the game's at 3. From 12 to 3 will be in Chrysler Center. Coach Harbaugh will be there. He's going to be doing some interviews, signing some autographs. JJ, Blake, the whole team will be there. We might even do a little basketball shooting competition between Blake and Donovan and have some fun with it. And we'll have other student athletes from all the other teams there as well, raffling off items such as Blake Corum signed football, JJ signed football, Jim Harbaugh signed football, MDen gift cards. We've got it all going on. So come check us out. It's only $30 and kids under 12 are free. So you can come see the team before they take the field on Saturday.
Are you personally planning on steak or hot dogs as the post-game meal?
I don't know. I might have to, they're maize versus blue. I'm going to have to make friends with guys on both teams so that I can hedge my bets here, and make sure I get a steak. But yeah, I've heard they've got the teams already drafted and picked out and all that stuff. So they're ready to go. I'm going to make sure I'm on the winning side no matter what. There's
no way that can be revealed, right? for guys to have their feelings hurt about getting drafted low.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's the guys. Like I think there are 2 captains that are drafting it. So I don't know. Maybe Jim Harbaugh is a meritocracy guy. He loves, if you don't like where you were drafted, go work harder and get better, and you'll get drafted higher next time. So I wouldn't be surprised if he puts it out there. He's not really a feelings are hurt type of guy, I wouldn't say.
No doubt about that. Justin Rowe, always great stuff talking Michigan football with us, Justin. We always appreciate it. Catch Justin Works, Blue by his work on Blue by 90. And I want to make sure that people know where to find that and how often you're dropping content these days.
Yeah, we're doing some podcasts here coming up on the spring game. So we've got some podcasts going usually once a week. We've got so much content on blueby90.com going right now, though. 3, 4, 5 articles up just on the football team every day, including all the spring sports that are going as well. The baseball team just swept it, I believe, and so we've got everything covered there at blueby90.com.
Awesome, Justin. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me, Mark.